of course, I want to open up with the 76ers. And what is going on? Where is the direction? Is it pure anarchy right now with Daryl Morey? Is he burning it down? Is there something that we're not seeing? Pat Bev, Pat Bev traded. Now, I'm not like making too much of this statement, but he was a really big piece to this puzzle from the standpoint of the locker room guy and the bravado, the mentality that this team had, a difference maker. And I was excited about the potential that this team had come playoff time because of the toughness. Now, I get it. If you're going to make moves, I need to see the complete picture before I start ripping a deal. Or that's fine. I'm not saying nobody is untouchable, right? Besides Joel Embiid, whatever. Nobody's untouchable. We talked about Tobias Harris for the last 3 years. This year, the team was winning. Everything was great when Joel Embiid was healthy. We talked about the chemistry. You don't want to mess with it. I said, you know what? If you're able to get an A-plus player and get rid of that contract, X, Y, and Z, I'm okay with making moves, but I need to know where the hell this direction is taking us right now. And I'm guessing. I don't know. What is your take on the Sixers right now with Daryl Morey and everything he's done today?
Yeah, that's probably my biggest frustration is it feels like they struck a little bit of a middle ground as far as their direction. That we started off the morning with this Buddy Hield trade, which I absolutely love, that being Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks in exchange for Buddy Hield. I think Buddy Hield has gone a little underrated on just how talented he is as a basketball player. That when you think about the best version of a Sixers offense around Joel Embiid, it's obviously with shooters with it. And I think Buddy Hield is a magnitude of shooter that we really have not seen. I would even give him the edge as a basketball player over guys like Seth Curry, Georges Niang, Marco Bellinelli. I would put him right up there with JJ Redick when you think about how effective they were in the two-man game. Hield can put the ball on the floor a little bit. I mean, a 40% three-point shooter on 8 3-point attempts a game for his career, that's pretty absurd efficiency and volume. So I was really excited by that move early on in the morning, and that felt like, okay, they're gearing up for Joel Embiid to return for a playoff run. That I think Hield did check the both boxes, which I was looking for as a guy that helps you stay afloat while Joel Embiid returns from injury, and then can be an effective playoff option when Embiid returns to the floor. But then we get past that and we get these trades of dealing out Pat Bev and dealing out Jaden Springer just for second-round picks in return. And those to me are moves on kind of rebuilding for next year. So for me, there was like a little bit of a, like, if you want to be a contender, it doesn't make any sense to trade Pat Bev and Jaden Springer. If you want to be rebuilding for next year, it doesn't make any sense to be trading for Buddy Hield right now. So a little confused on the direction and definitely frustrated by the day as a whole.
Yeah, what do you think about Campaign, though? Because obviously he's coming in, he's shooting well from 3 this year, 39.7%. Like, that's a solid player. Do you think he has big impact this year? Because, I like Campaign, but what do you think he does with the Sixers?
Yeah, I'm not a big Campaign guy, so I hate to be for me, like, I don't know. He's okay. He's an NBA player. He's not awful. I think he's a pretty significant downgrade from Patrick Beverley, to be honest. He is a better shooter by the numbers, but I think you could make an argument Pat Bev was having his best offensive season of his career this year and has really elevated his game when this team is need. Campaign's a nice energy guy. He is a more consistent shooter. His form's pretty weird. He's got kind of like that, like a uncle grown-up shot where it's like a set shot coming above his head. So I don't know. I'm not a big Campaign guy. We'll see what he looks like as the backup point guard. We'll take him. He's got a little bit of energy and spunk to him as well, so I like that about him. I know he's got some Philly ties as well, so who knows? But that seems to be part of the qualifications these days where they're shopping, but we'll see what he's got when he gets here.
Yeah, Pat Bev dealt to the Bucks, and the good defensive or good defender on the perimeter. You made them a little bit better. Again, yep. I'm not getting too caught up in the name. I'm not trying to make Pat Bev out to be a little bit more than what he is. And if I am, then so be it, because I thought he was a difference maker on the things that this team lacked in the previous seasons. And I was excited to see what this team was going to look like come playoff time. Of course, Joel Embiid injury, it changed everything. Now, I want to go back to what you just said, though, Sean, and I don't think Sixers fans are going to be happy when we break it down. Again, we don't know what the final picture looks like. Like, am I missing something? Is this all for Kyle Lowry? Is there a bigger piece to this puzzle? But I'm getting the vibe that maybe it's not going to be Joel Embiid returning this year. And you got to go ahead and start focusing a little bit more on next year. That's my vibe right now from Vegas. Am I off on that? Where do you stand, Sean?
Yeah, I'm unfortunately agreeing with that. And that's very
Unbelievable.
frustrating. That I did think the mindset should have been to go all in, and I thought that's where the direction was pointing after the Buddy Hield trade. And what's specifically frustrating me, like we bring up, this team already has some concerns with the perimeter defense. Their top two perimeter defenders were Patrick Beverley and Jaden Springer. We're coming off a night that, even with the Sixers getting demolished last night, Jaden Springer held Steph Curry scoreless for a whole quarter last night. That this is after a night after that he locked up Luka, did the same thing to Jordan Clarkson. Like, Springer looked to be taking those steps as a guy that could contribute. And then you just traded him to the Boston Celtics for the best team in the Eastern Conference. And you trade Patrick Beverley to the Milwaukee Bucks, who have their flaws, but are right up there in the top contenders for the East. And he's the exact type of player that the Bucks were missing. So you made your contenders better. You made your team worse. And I just don't understand this middle ground of, like, kind of collecting picks, but also giving them out. And for me, they got trapped in the middle. I do think that ultimately they expected to land Andre Drummond today. Kind of surprised that did not happen. And they have 3 roster spots available, so they will be attacking the buyout market. But you don't win a championship based on what you do in the buyout market.
Great stuff, Sean. No, you're exactly right, and I'm in agreement there. I just
not feeling good about any of it.
What is Daryl Morey doing?
I mean, the thing is, Buddy Hield is such a great pickup, though.
Yep.
Like, we've been clamoring for him for I feel like
He's
few
finally
years.
a Sixer.
And finally a Sixer.
Yeah.
I think a really good fit. Like Barnard said, it's one of the better 3-point shooters I think that Embiid has ever played with, outside of maybe JJ Redick. But even he's a different 3-point shooter than JJ Redick, and I love the fit with Embiid. But yeah, I hate that they played the middle ground. I think you're right with that, Barnard. I hate that, that Moore just didn't go all in. He was kind of playing both sides here. And maybe that's the right way to do it, because you don't exactly know when Embiid's coming back, how he's going to be when he comes back. But it's disappointing to kind of know that Morey views the season that way.
And that's the tough part, is the right decision is fully dependent on when and if Joel Embiid comes back and what level he can play at when he comes back, which you don't directly know right now, even under the best of circumstances, with them having more information than we have from the doctor. Like, you don't know exactly how he's going to respond. So you kind of, when you're dancing both lines here, you can look bad in either direction. That if Embiid comes back and is on the same tear that he left this season as, then you look foolish for not going more all in. But if he looks rusty and doesn't quite have the same stuff, then if you made all the moves to get all these win now pieces and Embiid's not ready to lead the charge, you look bad in that case either. So it isn't the easiest spot for Daryl Morey. I'll give him credit there, but I definitely don't love the middle ground, the optics of all of it.
Yeah, I would maybe phrase it differently. The same tear.
Sure.
Yeah, I think
it has more than one meaning, Bernard.
Sure,
we hit on that last week, where I know you and I were talking about it. I believe John and I were talking about it as well in the Daily Ticket, where it's like, what are you going to get back when Joel Embiid returns? And I think today, again, from where we're at,
telling. Yes, I think it's very telling. They don't know. Yeah. I thought it was telling.
I think they do know.
You think they do? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's viewed in a positive light at all. And you know what? Like, you can be the most optimistic Sixer fan. He comes back, he's healthy, ready to go. He's practicing 6-7 weeks, end of March. And then he's got a couple games at the beginning of April. I don't know. Maybe they're not even viewing it like that. Maybe he won't be back then. That's what I'm kind of getting this vibe from today's trades, that it's not looking good. And again, this team, it was ugly last night. We watched that game. It's been ugly quite a few times. The fourth quarter against Dallas. Yeah, this fan base is not happy after today, and I don't think they should be. But again, need to hear from Daryl Morey. Need to see what the final pieces are. Let's bring up Kyle Lowry, because you and I were texting a little earlier today. Will he be wearing a Sixers uniform or not? Is he going to go somewhere else? What is your take on Kyle Lowry?
I mean, the biggest holdup is, with all the positive talk and all the movement suggesting that's the case, he has yet to officially been bought out. So he's not quite available yet. All signs are definitely pointing to that. And it's not something that I have a huge concern for at this point. But I think he is ultimately going to be a Sixer, but there is still that little asterisk next to it. So I think that they would not have made the Patrick Beverley move if they did not have confidence that Kyle Lowry would be in a Sixers uniform. It seems like he wants to come play in Philadelphia. He's been another guy that has been in the mix to become a Sixer for a couple of years now. I just don't view that as that much of an upgrade. I think if anything, it's a lateral move. And frankly, I would make the argument that I would prefer to have Patrick Beverley than Kyle Lowry on this team. I get you. If you want the second round pick or make that case, whatever. But I think ultimately that Kyle Lowry will be in a Sixers uniform. And there's 2 more spots that are open as well with the Daniel House trade and with the Jaden Springer trade as well. So Marcus Morris was also bought out if there wants to be a return from him because he was traded twice. That is legal under the CBA. There's also, I know Danny Green has still been taking shots within the Sixers practice facility. They want to kick those tires. But none of these guys, like as I mentioned, you don't win an NBA championship through the buyout market.
No, you're right about that. All right. Yeah, it's
great.
not good.
It's great.
Well, look,
Always sunny in Philadelphia.
you watched that game last night. It's
it's
just
brutal.
if you're Daryl
It's the
Morey,
same thing. And once they get, second half, third, fourth quarter, they just don't have the horses right now. And it's good that they have Buddy Hield. I think it helps out. But yeah, losing a guy like Pat Bev, one of your better perimeter defenders, they still so many holes and so many things that need to get fixed.
Sean, let's talk about some other moves that were made around the league. The Knicks, we talked about them yesterday, and
they might be good.
They're definitely
good.
But
They might be great.
I didn't think they were a championship caliber ball club yesterday. Added today. What's your takeaway from the New York Knicks today?
Yeah, they're the real deal. That they can win in a lot of ways. They're a tough-nosed team. They did ultimately go out there and get Bojan Bogdanovic, who was pretty close to the top of my list for guys I wanted the Sixers to attack. Guy averaging 20.2 points per game. Also added Alec Burks, another guy who 40% three-point shooter. A couple other moves around the margin that they look like they're going all in this year. I didn't love giving up on Quentin Grimes. I think Quentin Grimes is the real deal, but they got significantly better. They're very clearly pushing all the chips in the middle and making this team ready to compete right now. I felt this way even before today's deadline, but I think I would put them the second best team in the East. That I'm more concerned about the Knicks than I am in the Bucks at this point in time. And they're just like the thing that I've circled back to for a couple months with this Knicks team. They're such a high floor team that you know what you're going to get to an extent from them on a night-to-night basis. The question is still, what is the top end talent, or do they lack a little bit of the star power with Julius Randle and with Jalen Brunson compared to some of these other guys? But from just checking all the boxes for what you want in a contender, they got them all.
Yeah, and I know Jason Tatum's good and Jaylen Brown, but I don't find that to be amazing star power. They're not Jokic, they're not Giannis, they're not Embiid.
Yeah.
Can the Knicks, to me, do match up? How is the matchup? Because obviously Boston's the number one kind of team that you would think of in the East. How do they match up with them? You would think it is a 7-game series. Not saying they win, whatever, but with their roster, how do they match up with Boston? And do you think they can compete?
It's interesting. The OG Anunoby trade, there does seem to be a little bit of legitimate concern that this could linger for OG. That's a big factor, and he would be the guy primary one-on-one matching up with Jason Tatum specifically there. Jalen Brunson's a little bit of a unique character there that the Celtics have really made a commitment to going big, that really not keeping any guys on the roster under 6'4", 6'5", and really being just bigger. Derek White, really the shortest guy in their starting lineup. So Brunson's going to have a size disadvantage. I'm curious how that matches up. I think the Knicks fare better than most teams. For example, if you want to compare them to the Sixers, I think the Sixers are always going to be at a little bit of a deficit the way the Celtics space the floor, that with a guy like Joel Embiid, you want him protecting the paint. He's far more comfortable as a rim protector. So when you have Kristaps Porzingis or Al Horford as your primary big man, they're playing 5-out basketball on a pretty much every possession basis. So that's tough. I think the Knicks match up a little better that way, although Mitchell Robinson is a guy that operates kind of similarly, that he would like to be a rim protector when he gets stretched out. He's been hurt for a couple weeks now. It seems like he's inching closer to returning. Their defense is far better when Mitchell Robinson is in there. So I think that's the biggest thing that the Celtics have from an advantage standpoint to everyone, is their ability to space the floor in a way that no other team truly can. So the Knicks are going to face a similar trouble, but I do think they're better equipped than a team like the Sixers.
Well, taking a peek at what DraftKings has to offer right now to win the East: Celtics plus 120, Bucks plus 240, Knicks plus 750, Sixers 10-1, Heat 12-1, Cavs 12-1.
Plus 750 for the team that's. Am I wrong in saying this, Bernard? That I think the Knicks are right now one of the hottest teams in the
absolutely
league, especially one of the hottest teams in the East.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus 750, man, that's not bad. And we know Jalen Brunson's performed well in the playoffs before. When Luka was out for Dallas, he was awesome in the playoffs
last year with the Knicks, he was awesome.
Yeah, last year with the Knicks, he was great too. So we know he performs well in the playoffs. They're deep. They got, man, I don't know. I think I'm starting to like the Knicks a lot, which I don't like saying.
No, yeah, I
really like.
Said that a few times this year, and even dating back to last year. I like the direction that team is going.
By the way, Joel Embiid did take to Twitter to give a little Troel moment once again. Embiid tweeting, "Lots of people got better!" 3 exclamation marks. That's fun for competition. ...
I like, yeah, sure,
whatever.
Tweet Joel. I don't know, whatever. That sucks though. Sixers, yeah, it's just tough right now for the direction and no clarity at all from Daryl Morey's perspective. Again, right now, I don't know what the end result looks like. I'm looking forward to seeing that, but I'm just not a happy camper at this point in time
Bernard,
with the team in the whole.
I'll ask you that because it does, like you just said earlier, it is, looking ahead a little bit to maybe next year. With what they got, what could they reasonably do next year?
So
and who could they reasonably get?
The Paul George is the hot name that came out, like Chris Haynes connecting, that's saying the Sixers are well aware that he has not signed the extension. If there's not a long-term future, they're going to be the number one guys contending for him. Frankly, I think it's very optimistic to think that Paul George would leave Los Angeles. That's been the place that he's wanted to be for several years. Took him a couple destinations to get there, him taking a stop at Oklahoma City in between. He ultimately is there, so it would not even surprise me if he took a pay cut to stay in Los Angeles. But if he is available, I mean, Paul George is a pretty much perfect player that you want to pair here in Philadelphia. As far as the Sixers entered the day with 6 second-round picks, down to just 3 now. They have over $60 million in cap flexibility this summer. Jaden Springer specifically was one of the 3 guys on the books for next year. So that's another $4.5 million that they got off the books in that direction. I don't know how much that played in a role in the decision-making, but it's clear that it's going to be Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and possibly Paul Reed, assuming the Sixers do make it to the second round this year, because there is that asterisk in his contract that he signed the restricted free agency sheet last year. But right now it's those 3, really those 2 with Embiid and Maxey, and just a blank slate. So this is Daryl Morey's true chance to paint this roster however he sees fit. We're along for the ride as far as that goes.
All right. Keep us up to date.
You didn't like any of that, did you, Bryce?
We will hit on the card. We got a big card tonight, 9 games in the association. Again, I hate messing with games and wagering on games during the trade deadline because you just don't know as far as the mental for these teams, and it shakes things up. It's not the norm. Last night, though, how about them Hornets?
How about them Hornets?
Charlotte +7. They lose by 6. Unbelievable. Best part about it is I caught the final 20 seconds. Did not watch a minute of that game. Caught the final 20 seconds when we walked into Circa. And it was just great to see that one play out the way it did. Obviously, getting that green check mark. Sixers, that was an easy one. If you took the Warriors on that one, a couple of other games that we discussed, I thought came out the right way. I'd like to get into the card here, but again, Sean, from the trade deadline, I apologize. It's over, right? We're not going to see any more here?
That's correct. Yeah, 3 o'clock was the final buzzer for the deadline.
So CBS Sports did give the Sixers a B+ on the trade for with the Pacers and getting Buddy Hield. I don't see anything else from the Pat Bev. They didn't give a grade on anything along those lines. What would you like the Springer and the Pat Bev deal? What are you giving a grade, Sean Barnard?
For each deal?
Yeah.
The Springer and the Pat Bev deal, I'd probably drop those in the D+ category. That I like the Buddy Hield quite a bit. I just don't see the appeal. I get you get a draft pick back. That's great. But like the risk reward to me, and like you're not going to get a better player with that second round pick than either Jaden Springer or Patrick Beverley at this point. That we know Jaden Springer was a first round pick, and he's still younger than most rookies this year. He's 21 years old. It does make sense to me to give up on him without having a reason to, which is pretty much what I feel like happened. So I get that they ducked the luxury tax. I get that they cleared some more cap space, but none of it matters if you don't find guys to fill that and make it successful. So it's still very theoretical right now. I don't love it by pretty much any way I slice it.